All right, guys. So we're going to talk about how to stop being triggered by your ex. It's something that I've dealt with over time. It's been harder and harder in the early. Sorry, it was harder and harder in the early days to deal with until I finally have one of the biggest triggering moments, in my divorce. To be honest, with my ex, that it finally just hit a point where I knew it couldn't keep going that way. And the reason this video came up today, or this idea came up today for this video, is because there was a little micro trigger session that happened today. Nothing big at all, very minor. It came over text message, but it was something that I realized that I'd. It made me think about that. Like, holy shit, I handled that really quick. It was just again, it was not anything big, but it just something I thought that would have triggered me in the past. Holy shit, this is like this. This turnaround is really quick. Like when it's been pointed out and it's becoming obvious to you, and you start to set the plan in motion, you do the things over and over. It's huge, it's massive, and it worked, and I could see that. So I thought that was a great thing to talk about today because it's big. Because in those early days, like the points that trigger you, they happen over and over and over, and it feels like it's a never-ending cycle. And for me specifically, since I had 3 kids with my ex-wife, I couldn't just ignore her. I couldn't just act as if she didn't exist. I couldn't just ignore the messages. I couldn't just ignore what were these triggering things, instances, emotions, events, however you want to label that. So I knew I had to handle them. Now, let me be clear. Early on, number one, if you don't have kids, if you deem that it's better to just ignore her, and ignore the situation altogether and act as if they don't exist, because you know what? I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know to the extent that these emotions are playing out, or I don't know the type of crazy you're dealing with, I guess is the best way to say it. Same way she doesn't know the type of crazy she's dealing with on your half. But that is an option. It's always an option. I don't think it's the good option. I'll plant a flag there. I want you to know there are options. There's always an option. But just like I firmly believe handling it head on is the best way, because that's the only time that it finally started to break for me, that I finally started to have some relief from those triggering moments. Again, they didn't disappear right away. Oh shit, they're not gone now. They exist. They still exist. They're still a thing. But my goal is to make sure they're nothing. They almost don't even trigger me at all. I'm sure there will probably be ones that keep popping up here and there throughout life. It's a never-ending journey. But my goal is to hopefully eradicate them completely. But it's just such a big deal. The thing was so one of the first things you can do is realize that when you're being triggered, what's happening? Well, an emotion is being elicited. Something somebody else did, something out of your control. Remember, control the controllables. Something out of your control has happened. There has been an input into your world, into your arena, into your space, all that. And it's brought up an emotion. Again, an emotion doesn't mean anger. It doesn't mean happiness. It doesn't mean pride. It doesn't mean any of the emotions you tie to it. Sadness, any of that. But in this frame, I'm talking about anger. Like anger is just like when you're angry about something, chances are it's pointing out a flaw in you. It's something that you're not, whether it be your confidence, whether it be your ego, somehow it's angering you and you feel lesser than. So when you feel those emotions come up, when a trigger happens from your ex, stop and take a moment and say, okay, what the hell's going on? Again, remember that pattern interrupt? The habit loop trigger for me was when I felt an emotion. And in those moments, I had an emotion. specifically one very, very distinct one, which I'll go over here in a second so I can apply this, put it into more of a real context for you. But if you can dig deep enough and understand what the hell is happening here, why do I feel this way? Because let's be real, when they get to talking about you, and by they I mean any of the outer world, whether it's your ex, whether it's somebody she knows that makes a social media post, or it's a text message, or it's an interaction, who knows how, but it's triggering you, bringing up an emotion that you're, so, yeah, it's bringing up emotion to you, and you're placing a meaning upon that. So if you can just get real with yourself and decide that, why am I placing this meaning upon that? It's not even that. Like it's not even this meaning. It's not even real. I'm deciding it right now. So why is that the case? Like, take time to realize, you know what? Here's the best way to look at it. You've got a garden, or you've got a flower bed, or you've got your yard. Probably your yard, since I'm talking to men. Your yard is something that you take pride in, and the way it looks, the way your house is represented. You did a good job when you got the greenest grass, or your property looks good. Then there's this big fat ass weed growing. It's big ass weed. You keep chopping off, you keep bringing out your shit to chop that bitch off. Every single time it grows. By chopping it off, you're pretty much ignoring it, though. You're cutting its head off. That's it. Get that out of here. It's gone. It's done. But what happens is when it rains and that humidity comes, which is some fucked up situation with your ex, or some input that some person has to say about your life, or, well, that you feel they're saying about your life in that moment. And all of a sudden there's that weed again. You think, what the hell? I chopped that bitch down. Why is it still here? You got to uproot that son of a bitch. You can't just cut its head off, think it's not going to grow back. Get down there. Get your fucking tools out. Get the ones you've learned. Get the ones you have from the past that have gotten you to this point, and then try to pull something that you've learned. Help yourself out. Start digging. Start pulling. Grab that thing at its root, at its base, and just pull up. Get that son of a bitch out. And what you're going to have is a big old dirty ass clod of mud and shit and bugs all wrapped around them roots. All that is a bunch of fucked up life scenarios that those roots are feeding off of. It's your past leading up until that moment that has created that weed, that gives that weed to life. And the thing is, that weed is, no matter what, it's growing on your property. It's yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, those people aren't coming along and putting fertilizer on that weed. They don't give a shit about your yard, I promise you. You're not important enough, all right? You're not important enough. Get there and spend time. Get that fucking dirt off there. Get it off there. Get all that life bullshit off there. Okay, this thing that happened last year, there's some dirt. Get that shit off there. That's the outer. Okay, a couple years before that, get that little thicker mud off there. Shit, well, this happened when I was a kid. So I'm gonna get that shit's in there thick. You gotta get it off there. Get it all off there. Start washing it off. All of a sudden, the roots are exposed. All of it's exposed. All the ones that finger out towards the sides, and that big old fat main root that goes straight down. That's the one you're looking for. Where does this thing come from? Where is it getting all of its life from? How am I letting this grow from my property? From me? Me specifically. The reason this triggered me today, again, small moment over a message that reminded me of a massive trigger session a couple years ago, early on after my divorce was finalized. Somebody that me and my ex knew together, they were a mutual friend, had made a post on social media about how my son had done a great job. He was very impressive as far as who he's becoming as a human being within this world, how he's representing himself towards other people. Super prideful moment. That post, in reality, was very nice. But having said that, right after that, the next sentence was, and I just want to say, good job at raising that kid. Named off my ex, named off her boyfriend, then named me. Then. I was third in that line. That was huge for me in that moment. I read that And you talk about being triggered. I was ready to burn this whole fucking town down. I was ready to absolutely lose my shit. And in some ways I did. There were so many things flooding me. I was shaking. I was shaking holding it, reading it. And what I thought was, how could this motherfucker be attacking me like this? That is a personal attack. Why would he say that about me? Does this motherfucker not respect me? Does he think like these people they didn't do shit. I'm the one that did it. If anything, it's me and her. That's it. Those are the only people that raised this kid. Because at that time, we were the only like actual parents he had for 99.9% of his life. There wasn't this other person that she was dating, and still is, to her credit. This person that she was dating at the time, he hadn't been a figure for any sort of substantial amount of time. So the fact that he was getting any credit at all, absolutely, absolutely killed me. It was unbelievable. It was all bullshit. And on top of that, for him to be named before me, oh my God, that guy was disrespecting me on so many levels. That motherfucker thought about this. He thought, I'm going to put him third. Fuck him. He's such a piece of shit. He's third on that kid's list. That's how much I think of him. That's how much I think he's actually inspired this kid and how much he's actually done as a dad to help mold this current human right now. There's the ugly face. I know I'm almost done. Right there's that ugly face. But dude, that was the meaning I placed on that in that moment. Holy shit, I was furious. I'm gonna tell you something. I was so shook in that moment that I was struggling to like even function, to even think straight, to even like so many different emotions were hitting me so fast. I couldn't decide whether I was gonna be pissed off and angry, whether I was gonna cry in a corner, whether I wasn't going to exist 10 minutes from now. Like those were the things that hit me in that moment. So the only thing I could think to do, total emotional decision, was call my ex up at that moment. I'm talking, fuck, this is embarrassing. This is like midnight. And I'm like, one thing I'll give my credit for is I'm not sitting there cussing my head off. I'm not belittling her. I'm not doing anything like that. But I was an emotional mess. I was very upset. I took it extremely personal. And since I was, bringing that type of emotions into it, she didn't know how to handle it either. She isn't very evolved in that space either. We're both learning these things. Obviously, she didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know how to handle her. That's why we're divorced in the first place. So there's no fucking way this is going to work out well. But this is the answer I came up with. Long story short, I would the goal of that call was to have her call that mutual friend who was a better friend of hers and tell them to delete it. Just delete the post and make me feel better, which again was centered around me. I was placing a meaning and I was all upset and it was about me. That was it, which is already fucked up, right? Like that already lets you know how messed up it actually is. And, it wasn't about me, but I placed that. So when it was all said and done, she told me, no, I'm not going to do that. She didn't, she handled it good, but not great. I handled it less than great. I didn't yell. I didn't freak out. I didn't do none of that stuff, but it wasn't the outcome I wanted. My whole goal of that call obviously was just to get okay, yeah, I'll talk to him. We'll get it removed. Nope. That wasn't the outcome I got. So what do you, at that point, what do I think's going on? Well, we hung up the phone. The message still existed. It wasn't taken down. I still had my emotions. I was absolutely focusing on everything except for what I could control because, as we know now, I'm trying to control the controllables, which I was not focusing on at that point. And the night went by and I was pissed off. was emotional. My next morning was awful, of course, because guess what? I didn't sleep like at all. I don't mean like, oh man, I just got some bad stuff. I mean like I had to fall. I regressed from anything I learned all the way back to the beginning, and I had to hold on to that initial anchor. Make it to tomorrow for my kids, because I'd solidified that as the biggest anchor point that I can always hold on to, and I none of my tools that I had at that moment that I had learned in that moment were solidified enough. So all I had again was my physical arm to tie me to that anchor. And that physical arm meant not sleeping. It meant not leaving the boat. So what do you think I did? I sat up all night, cleaned. I did the stuff that I normally did, the push-ups, did all that stuff that we've already talked about. But that was it. That's what I had to do. And so I didn't sleep for over 24 hours. I started to be able to get to sleep a little bit, but it was affecting me in a major way. So from there, it started to like trail into like weeks. It started to become weeks of feeling that way. And it wasn't handled. And up until that point, this is also worth saying, up until that point, I just cut the fucking weeds off. You know what I'm saying? Just cut them off. I didn't expose the roots. So when I was approaching, oh, Jesus, I want to say it was right around 3 weeks. I was like just in a funk. I was pissed off. There was sporting events in between there, of course. Interactions with my ex, which were super fucking awkward now because that whole interaction sucked. And you could tell that a trust barrier was kind of broken down and a different type of wall was built. And I could feel that I was jeopardizing future interactions with her about my kids. I didn't want her to feel like she couldn't say things because I wasn't, emotionally controlled enough. Now, having said that, I can't control her at all, but I'm trying to hedge my own bets. I'm trying to look at, the future me. So what I had to do in that moment was this shit isn't working. The ignoring it and just chopping the head of the weed off isn't working. This thing has got me so worked up, I can't get over it. So I did the one thing that I truly, truly to this day believe changed everything, and I would tell everybody to handle it this way from now on. I will let them know there are options, but this is the way to handle it. And that is, again, grab that fucker at the base and rip that weed out. Stop fucking around and get after it. Face it head on. Expose the roots. See them for what they are. And that, for that moment for me, was calling her up. Bringing it all back up. Because at that point, it had been ignored enough. It had just been let to go that it could just exist in a corner until it was time for it to come out again. So she's caught off guard, but, I had to bring it up. I had to say, hey, listen, the thing about that post and how emotional I was that night, I'm not, like, this is important because this was a call for me. This wasn't a call for her, I'm going to be honest with you. And no, it wasn't a call for me in my current state. It was a call for me in my future state. It was the me that I'm shooting for. It's the picture that I've painted within the frame that has been built. I'm starting to paint it. How can I ever get to that guy if I can't even come close to being him now? Like, what are the steps to get to him? This was one of the steps. I knew because that guy wouldn't ignore all this. He would handle it all and be super secure in himself and handle any situation. And I was fucking ignoring it. So I knew this wasn't the way to go. So I had to call her up, say, hey, listen, about that interaction the other night, I was incredibly emotional. There were some things I was working through. And, I could have handled that better. I just want you to know that. Now, I want to be very clear on something. That wasn't an apology in a sense of like, hey, I'm sorry I did a thing to you. That's not what this was. I mean, I was very, very adamant, not to her because it didn't need to come to myself before the call that, listen, this is not you calling to apologize. And before I hear somebody say, well, see, that's the problem. You should just apologize. Listen, there is a time to apologize. When you've completely fucked up, yes, you should apologize. You should wear it and you should own it and you should have it like a man. This was not that moment. This was me to acknowledge that, hey, listen, I've got shortcomings and I'm working on them. Understand that. Understand I'm working on them daily. And by me saying that, it's giving myself some space to grow and have a buffer, a little bit of a bumper, you know what I mean? between me and her in these interactions. So when that happens again, we come up, a little bit of a cushion blow. I had never done that with her. In all the years we were married and all the years we were dating, I'd never done that. You could tell that hit hard. She felt it, she heard it, she understood it. And she actually, said kind of the same thing back to me. Hey, I know I could have done some things maybe a little different too, whatever and whatnot. Ultimately things could have been handled a little differently. So that went out great. So don't get me wrong. That was me just pulling the weed out, all right? That was me just pulling it out. Like saying, listen, motherfucker, you're not allowed here anymore. You don't get to exist in my yard without my permission. You only grow if I feed you. No more. So from there, once I got off that phone call, the realization of, I've uprooted you. I've got you. I've got control now. What the hell makes you up? That's all that dirt. That was all that dirt. That's where I'm getting at here. In that outer layer, I said, what the hell made me feel this way? Why did I react so bad so quick? That was that shitty loose dirt on the outside. The stuff's almost falling off as it goes. Because it hadn't had enough time to solidify itself in there, but it could grab on. And that was me feeling pissed off and angry. I felt as if the person that made that post and tagged me in it third had a vendetta against me and said, I'm going to do this. Fuck him. And that wasn't the case at all. It wasn't the case at all. That was my own deals. That was my own insecurities. And that dirt started to fall off. I started saying, what is this? What was that post? Was this him telling my kid a good job on something he did? Who he's becoming? That was really what the post was. Okay, cool. That dirt's gone. Okay. Why did I get so damn emotional? Like, not just like, damn it, man, this thing pisses me off. I mean, like, again, I was shaking reading it. Like, it hit me at such a core level that it struck a nerve like nothing else ever has, especially as a divorced man. That was the very first thing that ever struck that kind of nerve with me. So I started thinking, like, why was it so deep? Why did it cut me so deep, so quick? Well, I mean, leading up to there was insecurities I had leading up to the divorce because of, the situations that my ex-wife had put the relationship in, the different, the attention she was giving other men, let's just be real with it, that she was giving other men just hit me in such an insecure way, or it made me so insecure because it hit me in such a real way that this other man speaking about my kid with my ex-wife, putting me third, it triggered all that. It made me think like, God damn, they're conspiring against me. See, there it is again. So that was that little thicker dirt. Get that shit off there too, okay? That's not what happened. That's not what this was. I'm not that damn important for them to scheme in the background to build this post. It's not the case. Okay, so there's that. Get that shit off there. Okay, get that out of there. It's hard that one was a hard one to shake, but now we're in that thick black dirt in the middle. There's some roots stuck out there. I'm starting to see where these roots were feeding these other pieces of it. That core root's still covered. Where the fuck did this come from? This goes way back to before I ever met my wife, or ex-wife now. This goes way back to when I was a kid. This is built from when I was young, dealing with my own parents' divorce. I don't even remember when they were together. I grew up in a divorced household through what was my entire childhood. I think I was probably, 2 or 3 when my parents got divorced, something like that. So, I mean, just, that's, I don't have any memory of them being together, ever. But see, with that, when I was being brought up, my mom, like, she devoted from her kids' point of view, she devoted her life to us. She gave up on many, many opportunities. Looking back now, I see them. I see how much time she sacrificed, how much money she sacrificed to give us the best life possible. She did not have a great job. She had a good enough job. I'm not going to stand here and act like I was destitute. But like, it wasn't uncommon for cops being our neighbor consistently all the time. Between drug deals and people getting beat up and stabbed and stuff like that, whatever, it is what it is. Many people have that story. But and my dad wasn't non-existent either. He was a man trying to figure out his own life. He's trying to make his own money and trying to do things. So where she overcompensated on the side of like, I'm the super ever-present parent to you guys, my dad was on the other side of trying to make my life work. I'm trying to regain things. I'm trying to figure it out. And I went there. We had, I had totally, sorry, they had totally split custody of me. So, I mean, I was there a lot, 50% of the time, actually. 50%, it's 50-50. But emotionally, the ties weren't there. We did a lot of things that, I'm happy about today, but at the time I didn't see that way. So like there was all this core stuff that covered that root, that thick clay dirt. And it took some serious deep thought of what the hell is this and how to get it off. And once I was able to really zero in on it and say, fuck, there it is. That's what did it. That's why I felt that way. I was able to expose that core root. And like once that was there, I was able to kill that weed and get the fuck off my property. I was able to take it out of my mind and get it away. And that's what, again, sparked this video was the reminder of that moment in my life where I was completely unhinged over what was a message of my son's praise of an external individual. That should really have showed me how well I did. Instead, I decided to place the meaning on me in a negative light. When in reality, it was all meaning towards him in positive light, which secondary means I've done a good job. I couldn't see it that way. Like, it felt as if they were standing behind me and just stabbing a knife through my back, strategically into my heart. Like, just completely working and laughing the entire time. Like, that's what I saw, and that's what I felt in that moment. It was very visceral. It was, it's hard. Like, I can, like, if I stood long enough, which I'm able to do and handle those moments now, but I could get lost in that feeling again very easily because it was a very real one. It imprinted on me very deeply. So that's how I knew I had to take action. That's why I know it's so important now to do that. Like it's a must from my side, from my point of view. It is a must. It's not an option. For you, it might be different. I'd be willing to bet it's not. I'd be willing to bet that you'd be better off if you handled it head on. Because remember, the ultimate goal is to build the future you. How would future you act in this moment? Okay. Well, how can current you act to emulate future you, your goal outcome, your ideal avatar of yourself? How do you act now for you later, for your children, for the future that you're trying to build, to dominate your life post-divorce? That's really it. That's a very, very important part. One of the biggest things about that is it's easy to talk about now because it was a thing in my past. I handle it much better now, but I'm gonna be real with you. I don't want to act as if you know this and all of a sudden now you're fixed. That problem's handled every time. It is a good framework. It's a good framework for you to paint your picture within. But getting around people that understand these things, that have gone through them and that can help you, and people that can, help guide you with each other, even just you guys can work in the darkness together is really one of the bigger things. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. So Try to do that. Try to figure that out. And you can make that work. That's really my whole goal, is just to provide this space, provide these thoughts, hopefully to you, and they can help you out later. Hopefully that's the case. Okay. From there, let's do some quads, I think. Yeah. Let's see. I've already done 3. I need to do 4. So that's the other thing too, real quick. You might be wondering where the hell these other exercises come from, because last time they weren't up here. So I did back earlier, about 30 minutes ago. Actually, less than 30 or more than 30 minutes, because this video's been 30 minutes long. Then I did biceps, and that's where we came in. Embarrassingly, I started recording this video, and I didn't have my my external mic on, so it was just me walking around looking like a dipshit, talking to nobody. So I just stopped the video after 30 minutes of recording, and then pick up from biceps, which I had done I think it was 2nd, 3rd, and 4th set, maybe what you saw, or maybe 3rd and 4th. That's there. And then I went down here to hamstrings. I've decided to do the RDL still, because it just feels good. So I'm going to stick with that for the moment. Now I'm debating whether to go between calves or quads. And right now, let me be real with you. So my knees don't feel the best, like not in like the hurt kind of way. I think honestly, I'm just being a little bitch. I think I'm being a bit of a little bitch, and I need to get after it. So you know what? That right there tells me that I need to do quads. If I can stand here and say that I think I might be being a little bitch, I need to do quads. I need to just do them. That'll be my last exercise, which would be 4 of them today. I was planning on getting 5 originally, but then like I said, I didn't have the microphone on. So that took me time to realize. Then by the time I realized it, I watched some of the video back to decide whether or not I could salvage that little bit of footage, 30 minutes. I thought, well, maybe I can do a voiceover when I'm putting it on the computer to load it. Ultimately, I said screw it. These aren't meant to be special. These aren't meant to be fancy. Not a bunch of editing goes on, honestly. Borderline 0% editing goes on. I think you guys can tell if you've watched them. But that's the goal. Just to have a conversation. Just to have an actual connection here, and not feel like it's this thing that's happening, and just to connect and relax and chill out, and hopefully bring to light some situations that you might be dealing with through my personal stories. That's really it. And again, that's why the email is at the bottom in the description. Maybe you have something to say. Maybe you have a question that you'd like me to talk about. Dude, ask them. I don't care. Or in the comments. I don't care. Put them down there. If you don't mind being in the comments, cool. Let's just do that. But reach out if you want to. That's the thing. But that's the whole point of this, is just to have a connection and understand, if nothing else, just knowing that you're not the only one going through what is one of the hardest things to go through in your life as a man. Is to build a life that you had no intention of leaving, and then figuring out, how to rebuild from there, and trying to figure out what that even means. Can you rebuild? How does that look? Ooh, I need to get these plates out. Are you even able to, restructure your life the way you were hoping? I don't know. That's what we're doing. That's the whole point. That's the whole goal. So, yeah. Well, right now, one thing you saw, I'll cover a little bit. Number one on the back side, or for back, since we screwed that part of the video, I did overhand barbell rows. Worked through there, did 4 sets. Remember the 2 RIR, which is reps in reserve, going all the way almost to failure. That was the whole point. That is the goal. That is what I'm still doing. Remember the ugly face? Made sure when I got to the ugly face, I knew I was right there. I was right at the end. So I pushed it all the way to that limit for 4 sets. And then from there, where we picked up was the curls. And remember what we talked about before was the split stance. I'm gonna still keep doing that for now because I was locked into that preacher curl seat before. And I was able to, really leverage the stability of that seat to lock everything in. Whereas now, there's able to be some body sway, there's able to be some momentum. I need to keep everything still, and that staggered stance does a good job of that. Also keeping the chest up and out. And the elbows back a little bit. So that's where I went from there. That was RDLs. And those are for hamstrings. I was going to try to do something different. There's plenty of exercises you can do with dumbbells. But those just feel so good to me right now. And I'm still really weak on them. So I'm going to keep doing them. Having said that, in the storage unit, I have so many freaking weight machines that it pisses me off knowing they're sitting there. I'm letting that get to me. So I'm finding myself thinking, oh, I'm going to go get my laying hamstring curl, or I'm going to go get my standing unilateral leg curl. Like, I don't need that. I don't have to have that. But anyways, that's where I'm at. Is why I did those again. Again, that one I actually did only 3 sets. My hamstrings are weak. I was feeling it after that. Plus 2 with hamstrings, it's only 10 sets for the week. It's only Thursday. So 7 more sets is nothing to get. But from there, now I'm on the quads. Just so we're clear, I'm still a little bitch when it comes to legs. After those injuries, I let it get in my head and act like a chump. Jesus. One thing you'll see is I dance around a lot with my feet. I'm doing squats. Currently, I struggle with stability in my legs and range of motion. It's not that damn flexible. My hips and my Achilles, so my ankles, they don't want to let me get down low. So I was talking about, I do stretches daily. I do 3 rounds of them, but it's getting better. You're probably thinking to yourself, how the fuck can that be better than what? Or how could it get any worse than that? I promise you it was worse. Embarrassing. Yeah, I'm working on it. The problem is so you need to find something to elevate your heel to allow yourself to get full flexation in your, quad to your calf there. You want to be able to close that gap. You need that full stretch in the quad to come out of the hole. Well, the problem, my ankles won't let me do it, so I got to bring up the heel to allow for that to close. The problem with that is for me, got this concrete floor, and these weights will move around. These 2x4s were what I was using originally, but I've gotten past that. So I want to slowly lower myself down, but these fucking weights I'm gonna have to find something else because they're just there's no grip. So it's making me move a little bit. It's making me unstable and it's making me unsure, which is not good. That's how you lead to injury, is not being confident in what it is you're doing. So I'm trying to build that confidence, trying to build that strength up, and simultaneously stretching every single night for it too. So there's a lot going on here for legs and trying to build them out. That's kind of what we're working on. Yeah, so I'll find myself doing squats as deep as I can, which is a good thing to do. But my knees, again, they don't like hurt. They're just not used to doing this shit. So I gotta be conscious of what I'm doing and stability and everything else. So I gotta do this weak ass baby weight. So we're gonna do it. But like I said before, I didn't want to do it. I was actually ready to go in and be done. But that's what told me right there on the spot. Nope. You might as well get that fucking weight on your back and start doing it, because now you're being a little bitch. Now I'm out of character if I didn't do it. Again, painting that picture towards future me. It's not just an emotional build or a mental build. There's clearly a physical picture I'm shooting for too. And I can't get certain attributes unless I do the things to get those. I told myself it's correctional exercises, so stretching, lightweight stuff. And looking like a little bitch in front of you guys. So that definitely includes being 6'3", 210 pounds, and squatting 135 pounds for what is a weak ass 10 reps. This is what it is. Leg extension, I'll blast it out, but I didn't do shit. Leg press, I'll blast it out. I just didn't see the growth I needed. Remember what I said before? People trying to tell you, hey, my workout routine's the best. You know they done fucked up. They're already lying to you. Their workout routine's not the best. They can't know that. Because they didn't ask you the important question. The most important question, actually. What are you doing right now? Gotcha. What are the things you're specifically not doing? Perfect. And why aren't you doing those? Okay. Well, guess what? I've got the fucking best routine for you now. Listen, it wasn't the one that was 10 minutes ago. It's not the one I'm probably doing. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Probably not. But I know what it is now, because guess what? I asked those questions. So when you see people saying, do this or do that, and I'm better than everybody else, they're fucking liars. They just want your money. They want your shit. They're not there to connect. Not there to help. They're there to give you a washed out fitness plan that you'll get some results from in the beginning, and they can capitalize on though and ask you for a testimonial immediately and blast it all over their page, which is a whole nother thing. It's one thing I'm not 100% against. I just don't do it. Maybe think it'll change later. Right now, I just don't do it. I don't do the whole testimonial bullshit. You'll find that out real quick. As a matter of fact, Mind Pump does they have a good take on this. They talk about how, they've been around forever. Between the three of them, four of them actually, they've got thousands of testimonials. But they know damn well that because this guy did a thing and got a result, they know that that's not the reason you'll get the result. Because you're different and they're different. They're not the same. And they're very, very transparent on the whole, hey, listen, if you do that, all you're doing is leveraging people's emotions to elicit a decision, which is pretty much everything I'm going against. Remember the whole control the controllables? If you feel an emotion, stop, habit loop trigger, emotion, don't care what it is, remember, what's happening? Why do I feel this way? Something is trying to make me feel away and I'm letting it, or I'm placing an emotion, or just get deep. But that's what marketing is. I love when they talk about that. Love when they talk about that. Justin, Sal, Adam, and Doug all have talked about that. That's the main reason that they won't put transformation pictures on there. Testimonials, all that shit. It's something I've tried to stick to. I have so far. I'm hoping to do that unless it's, I don't know right now. Right now I'm going to say no because I don't see a reason to do it in a bigger way. So all you're doing is trying to sell people and shit. I'm tired of that. All right, this is the last set right here. Last set, best set. I'm at 6 to 10-ish range. Here we go. Oh, what a little bitch. What a little bitch I currently am. You gotta laugh about it though, man. You gotta have some fun. What's the point if you can't laugh, right? All right, guys, let's go over here. Let's mark this fucking board up. Let's get done with it. Man. All right, where's the damn quads thing? What color is that shit? Black? Second order of importance. Let's get in here. Quads. Today's Thursday. Where are we at? Down. We had 3. Okay. All right, guys. That's gonna be it for today. Until next time. Till will probably be tomorrow. I'm back in the garage. Hopefully helping you out. At the end of the day, I'm helping myself out no matter what. So it's worthy. It's worth it. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort. Fuck, this shit helps just letting it air out. So hopefully it helps you. Nothing else. Chase K for Divorce to Dominance. See you guys tomorrow.